Well, hello and welcome back to my Appalachian Trail hiking adventure. This video covers Greenwood Lake, New York to the New York-Connecticut border. That's roughly mile 1373 to mile 1457. So not quite 100 miles, but a decent little chunk there. So the very first clip in the video was cat rocks on a wet, slippery day. And that was sort of the theme. Things are getting harder, and I'm trying to make progress in the rain, which inevitably leads to hiking in the rain. Usually not such a big deal until these rocks come into play, especially going downhill on the rocks, because the rocks are slick and they'll get you at the worst times when you're super confident. So the trick is to go slower, be less confident. Sometimes it takes forever to get downhill there, but at least you don't slip and fall, and sometimes you do anyway. So I I slipped and I fell a couple times. I don't remember exactly where, but one of these times I had a bad fall. Didn't break anything, but I sprained my thumb. Um, and I think it's a common thing that skiers get because skiers have these poles too, and you fall in such a way that your thumb gets kind of sprained. Um, yeah, that's no fun. Uh, but after that, I don't know what it was. If it was just my whole body needed to recover, or if it was I was kind of sick because I was coughing a bit, and I couldn't really figure out what was happening. But I ended up taking a few 0 days. I took a 0 day at this place called Tuxedo Motel. I felt pretty terrible when I checked in there, and I felt okay when I checked out, but I felt like I was eating like a pig. I had, pizza delivered, and I was eating all this junk from the gas station. The gas station had a Boar's Head deli inside of it, which was pretty amazing. Pretty sure that's part of the deli section, what they call the deli section, which is a rough stretch of the Appalachian Trail through New Jersey and New York, where you hit up delis, every other day, and you can buy a sub sandwich, which is very long often, and you can have half of it for lunch and half of it for dinner. Just pack it and take it to the shelter. That works out pretty nicely. But in this case, at the Tuxedo Motel, I took a 0 day there, ate my sandwich indoors, and was lazy. That was a glorious 0 day. um, yeah, after that, yeah, well, I felt better, so I made progress, which was important. So, and as you can see, the days after that, it was not rainy, and got lucky with some nice blue sky, partially cloudy days in Harriman State Park and Bear Mountain. This Bear Mountain in New York is something that people were talking about. It seems like a very big destination for people wanting to escape New York City. So I was very glad to visit that place during a weekday when it was not crowded, but it was still surprisingly busy. But I could tell it gets crowded on the weekdays, and I would not want to be up there for something like Memorial Day or something like that. So it was pretty low key. Here's some caterpillars escaping. I think this is Fingerboard Shelter. This is a really old shelter. That roof is pretty new, but the whole foundation and everything is very old style. And this is one of the shelters that was actually built by the CCC, which is the Roosevelt, what was it, Civilian Conservation Corps, putting unemployed workers from the Great Depression to work. But that shelter had big problems. If that was actually Fingerboard, that one had huge problems. Every entry in that logbook talked about bears, and it was like a nightly thing. The bears come and visit, even for people who hang up their bear bags properly, even using the PCT style. Somehow the bears figured out how to tug on it and break the twig, or I don't know how, but I did not want to stay there. And speaking of other dangerous things, there's a timber rattler snake, which with gratuitous digital zoom for safety, keeping my distance there. Now I haven't seen one of those guys since, so that's my one and only timber rattler snake up to this point. Here's a semi-tame deer that kind of was checking me out and kind of not caring and just eating, but I was gentle and I needed to pass where he was. So This is around Bear Mountain here. And here's this memorial, and inside it has all these sort of plaques with people's names on them, long gone, and sort of lots of egos that are not around anymore. It's like a monument to themselves. It's kind of weird, but it's a nice place to view. um, this was cool. It's a little demo trail, various trail technology that I've been pretty familiar with, and that gave it a name to all those sort of pieces of technology. This is actually the lowest point on the Appalachian Trail, the Bear Mountain Bridge here. Walking across this bridge here. I actually started walking across on the wrong direction, and I couldn't find the blazes, and I figured it out. I was on the wrong side. I had to cross over to this side. I don't know what was going to happen if I went all the way down on the wrong side. I'd probably have to do a Frogger across the traffic there, which would probably not end up very well. And this is a place, coming up here is the Graymore Spiritual Life Center. Here's their cemetery. I don't know why I got very depressed, and I was kind of contemplative around there. That area is all, they have like a soccer field and everything that's sort of given to hikers to rest and recharge. Literally, they have a place to plug in. You could recharge your phone, camp there. So that was pretty nice. I also visited their bookstore, and for some reason I decided to buy a book there, which is kind of crazy. Like, why do I want to add weight to my pack? I don't know. This is a Campus Lake Complex. It was kind of a hot day there. I powered through that day to get to this beach complex, and it's not even open for the season. And they have a cafe there called the Acorn Cafe. It closed at 5, and I think I got here at probably 5:01, 5:02, but it didn't matter because the cafe was not open for the season. It was actually a week before Memorial Day, and that was their first sort of official opening day. Here's another new. These guys are all over the trail. They've been, I think, in every state I've been to. Very easy to step on those guys. I hope I haven't stepped on any. Some more of these rocks, but not on a rainy day, thankfully. This is one of the nice shelters. Forget, it's RPH Ralph something or other. It's someone's name. There was a beer there even. I didn't take it, but it was a little trail magic. But this ended up being a little rest stop for me. I wish I could have stayed the night, but I was really happy to stay on that Campus Lake complex. After that hot day, there was a shower. I mean, they had the showers available, and I took a shower, and it felt awesome. It was great, and I kind of washed my clothes in the shower. Oh, this is a humid day, and that's the only thing with the lack of rain comes the hot days, and comes the bugs and the heat and humidity. So it's like you can never have like a totally ideal day. There's kind of some humor at the RPH shelter there. The preview. Getting our bleep together. This is pretty crazy. There's a huge boulder. This tree that tried to grow around there. Has some more little mushrooms. These are all these little fascinating things. This is a really cool site. I kind of zoomed in a bit, but you can see sort of the cliff face through there that they cut through. Here it doesn't quite capture it, but the light was awesome here. Yeah, there's the sunset. Don't get a lot of sunsets actually. I try to get to shelters before sunset now. This is pretty amazing to see the mileage here. It's like 150 miles back to Delaware Water Gap. And I thought, what? I was just there, like I thought I was just there a few days ago. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. 150 miles. This was a cool little boardwalk in New York, which I wasn't even expecting, because I'd heard about the New Jersey boardwalk and everything, but this was a little unexpected treat. And at the end of this one, I ran into a guy, and I didn't ask him his trail name, but he hiked the Appalachian Trail in 1976, and he did it. He completed it, and he said he'll remember it for the rest of his life. But he said, well, back then they didn't really have a lot of this lightweight gear and all this gear selection and this technology, and he had to make a lot of his stuff to keep it light. Oh, here's the Appalachian Trail stop. That'll take you right into New York City. And that hiker I was talking to actually said, "Oh, there's some strange people who get off there. Like you ought to see them. Like they get off and they're totally dressed for the city. They're not dressed for hiking." So it's kind of funny. Not really prepared well. This was kind of creepy. Some vine sort of hanging around. The video doesn't really capture it, but it's just kind of a weird tree there. And that's the end. So that's Connecticut. And I met a trail angel. Her name was Amy there. She gave me a fig Newton. And I was ready to go on into another state, which will be another video. So join me next time. Thanks. Bye.